Welcome to another episode of Data Journeys. In today's edition, I have the pleasure of being joined by Sanjeev Mohan. Everybody knows Sanjeev. He has been in the field of data, AI, and analytics for a long time. He was a Gartner vice president and spent hours with customers, helping them with the most pressing issues that they have. And right now, a lot of you are talking about saving costs while maintaining the pace of your innovation. And so this is an interesting opportunity, a lot of trade-offs you got to think through. Google Cloud has introduced new capabilities and auto scaling and compressed storage and BigQuery additions, which tends to save a lot of money for customers and innovate with these new capabilities. And so in today's episodes, we're going to ask Sanjeev what his take are on these innovations, what he's hearing from customers, and how you can capitalize on these innovations. Sanjeev, welcome to Data Journeys. Let's get right into it. Tell us about yourself and what you've been up to.
Thank you so much, Bruno. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you and do stuff. I remember just 2 months ago, I landed in Orlando after my red eye, and you called me and said, let's do a car cast. I was literally getting ready to go to my hotel and take a nap, and instead I got ready and came over to your place. This is the life that I lead, and I love every minute of what I do, because now I really get to interact with people from all walks of life in the data and analytics space, not limited by geographies or by industries, and I get to talk to various people. Just going back to the Data and Analytics Summit in Orlando in March, I had the honor and the delight of having lunch with Bryson Kohler. He is the Chief Data Analytics Technology Officer at Equifax, massive team. And Equifax has done an amazing job of moving from on-premises into the cloud while maintaining the cost optimization. And that's what I like the most. When I was talking to him, it's like light bulbs were going on inside my head. Just learning from his very practical journey. I was so impressed that after the lunch, I was like, you got to come to my podcast. I have a podcast channel, it's called It Depends. And I was like, this story needs to be shared because so many people want to hear what are the best practices. You hear all kinds of stuff, cloud is very expensive. Yeah, it can be if you don't do things right. But what is the right way to approach it? For that, I'm going to have Bryson talk about it on my podcast.
So everyone should join that session on the It Depends podcast, because Bryson, who is at Equifax, will share his real-life experience with you. So I'm really looking forward to that session. Now, if we go to the innovations that Google Cloud introduced, we talked about auto-scaling, compressed storage, BigQuery additions. What is the market reaction that you're seeing? How customers are optimizing around it, how they're reacting to it. How should our audience think about taking advantage of these innovations to save and innovate at the same time?
Bruno, one of the important things that I have to draw upon is that what Google introduced is actually in reply to some of the requests that I was hearing anyway from customers. I've had this opportunity to talk to Google Cloud customers across different parts of the world for many years now. And every time clients were saying that they want the freedom as to what features they should have, and then only pay for those features. Why pay for all you can eat buffet when you just want one entree? So this one size fits all is not necessarily a good idea. The second thing that I heard customers was, along with the features, we should only pay for the resources that we consume and not a fixed flat rate pricing. And that comes through auto scaling.
So there was a lot there. And then you spend a lot of time with our customers. We've got hundreds of partners building solutions on top of BigQuery. If you think about auto scaling, compressed storage, and BigQuery additions, how should I think as a customer about using these technologies separately or together to optimize for cost savings as well as innovation?
Bruno, the important part here is, why are you doing all of this? Auto scaling, compressed storage, additions, because at the end of the day, it comes to cost. And when we talk about cost, see, this is the interesting thing about cloud. On premises, we talked about how, it's sunk costs, right? But in cloud, cost and performance are actually the same thing. And this is a mental shift which a lot of people have not made. So why I say this is because if I can compress my storage and I can run things now faster, I'm going to save cost, because cost is calculated on consumption. So the architecture and the cost leading to performance are all just one thing. So this is why auto scaling is really important, because in auto scaling I am not setting a fixed price for what I do. Sometimes I may not even know what if I get it wrong. Then my query will just either I won't be able to run it because I put a hard limit on it, or the cost will go through the roof. But with auto scaling, I have that control, and that control is what we were missing. And I find that is really important. I have control over how I scale, what additions, i.e., what features do I pay for, and the third part is my architecture using compressed storage makes my workloads very efficient. So it's a combination of all of these things that we have to think through as one package.
So there's a lot in what you just said here. You spend a lot of time with our customers. We got hundreds of partners building solutions on top of BigQuery. When I think about additions, particularly the fact that I can mix and match additions, as a customer, how should I think about my workloads? What are some of the key parameters I need to look at?
Bruno, there are only a fixed number of things at a high level that people want to do. Some within an organization, some people want to run reports, dashboards, so they want those to run fast. So they need query acceleration, and depending upon which edition you pick, you get that feature. So that is one type of a workload. But the next workload could be a machine learning workload where maybe I want to train my model. For that, I need certain capabilities. I don't necessarily want things to be spanning clouds, for instance. So that's a third type of workload. Some workloads require multi-cloud access. So this is how customers should think about what is the query pattern, or what kind of workload do I have, and then they should marry their workload to the type of addition which best suits their needs.
Excellent. And that's how they really figure out how to save money with the flexibility they get, and they combine that with auto scaling and compressed storage. You could get a lot out of the platform. Now, like we said, you spend a lot of time with customers, and there's a lot of guidance there around scaling or auto scaling. How is Google Cloud's auto scaling different from what you see in the marketplace today?
The first thing that I want to say is that Google's auto scaling is not t-shirt size based. So it's based on slots, and so it's more, I would say, finer grained than a t-shirt size. T-shirt size, and we talked about it earlier. If I have 16 nodes and I need just that bit more, I go to the next t-shirt size, which doubles everything, and now I'm wasting my resources. So I like the fact that it's auto scaling, so it's not going to different size instance. It's just going up by consumption, and secondly, it's more fine grained control. So I'm saving on the cost and the resources that are going to be provisioned as my needs increase.
And the system does it for you, so you almost don't have to worry about it. You can put the thresholds that you want to manage within, and then the system figures it out for you, which is really modern and unique. Now, we talk a lot about people moving to these modern capabilities, and for some people, it's a mindset shift as well. What are the best practices for people listening to us around cost saving, optimization, and performance when they also are under pressure to deliver more innovation into the marketplace?
Bruno, there is a very interesting thing on Wikipedia, a page. It's called Jevon's Principle, or Jevon's Law, Jevon, Jevon's Law. It is from 100 years ago. And what this guy in UK found was that as things get more efficient, the resource usage goes up. So not down. So the idea that Google Cloud is making my workloads more efficient actually translates into more workloads. The last thing that I want my clients to do is to say that we are facing economic downturn, so stop all innovation and let's start conserving cash, because we are guaranteed going to come out of it. And you know what happens when the tide goes out? You find out like who's unprepared. So we don't want to be in that position. So when organizations ask me like, okay, so what should we do different? So I'm like, okay, the first thing that you may want to consider is create a center of excellence for FinOps. Why am I saying this? Is because there is this notion which we've brought over from our on-premises days that cost control is the CFO's job. But who is consuming the cost? Is it the CFO? Absolutely not. The CFO is just sitting in his or her air-conditioned office going through dashboard. The developers are the ones who are causing the cost consumption. So FinOps is actually a responsibility for everybody on the team. And this understanding this culture and what to do, and to be aware of where my cost is being incurred and how to save it. This has to come from the center of excellence for on FinOps, and that is very refreshing because everyone should know what they're consuming. Cloud gives me this ability, this notion of mirage of infinite capacity, which is we know is not true.
That was a lot, Sanjeev. Thank you so much for taking the time to take us through these innovations together today. Where can people find out more about your work?
Bruno, I am on LinkedIn, of course, like most people, but I also have my podcast series on YouTube called It Depends, and I have a Medium site. We can share the links with you.
We will absolutely do that. And of course, people can Google your name and find all the great content you've been sharing. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on Data Journeys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.